You flip a plastic switch on your bedroom wall, and the darkness vanishes. Your ancestor flipped nothing. So picture the gap. When the sun dropped below the horizon 300,000 years ago, it did not mean it was time to relax. It meant the world was being handed over to things that could see in the dark. And you feared the night, not because you were superstitious, not because you were afraid of ghosts, because you were on the menu. You have no night vision. You have no claws. You are essentially a slow bag of meat wrapped in very thin skin. But the scariest part of the prehistoric night was not what was waiting in the shadows. It was what happened to your own mind when you stayed awake. We spend a third of our lives completely unconscious in the dark. But for 99% of human history, doing that was effectively an invitation to be eaten. So how did we survive it? How did a fragile, blind, weak species manage to sleep at all when surrounded by apex predators? The answer is not just one thing. It is a layered defense mechanism that fundamentally altered our biology, our culture, and our sanity. In 2017, a team of evolutionary anthropologists at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, published a landmark study analyzing the sleep patterns of modern hunter-gatherers, like the Hadza in Tanzania. What they found destroyed everything we thought we knew about how humans survive the dark. It turns out, your ancestors did not just hide in caves and hope for the best. They engineered a biological security system. They engineered a biological security system that you still carry inside your DNA right now. To understand the terror of the ancient night, you have to understand the prehistoric real estate market. Half of every single day was a death trap. Almost every major predator on the African savanna, from saber-toothed cats to giant hyenas, was nocturnal or crepuscular. They owned the night. They hunted in the night, and they had a distinct evolutionary advantage over you. Eyes that amplify ambient moonlight. If you stepped out of your shelter after dusk, you were not exploring. You were volunteering to be prey. But you still had to sleep. The human brain requires sleep to function. Without it, you hallucinate, your immune system crashes, and your reaction time plummets to fatal levels. So, early humans developed a terrifyingly brilliant strategy. They used their own community as a living alarm system. The UNLV study discovered something called the Sentinel Hypothesis. When researchers monitored the sleep of entire hunter-gatherer tribes, they found that over a period of weeks, there was barely a single minute where the entire group slept at the same time. Out of a group of 30 people, at least one or two were always awake, not because they were assigned guard duty, but because human biology is incredibly diverse. Think about your own family. Someone is a night owl. Someone is an early bird. Someone wakes up if a leaf drops outside the window. Someone else can sleep through a literal earthquake. You have probably always thought of this as a minor annoyance, especially when you are the light sleeper. But 300,000 years ago, your insomnia kept your family alive. The variation in our chronotypes is an ancient survival mechanism. Evolution designed us to sleep in shifts, but eventually, biology was not enough. The predators were getting bolder, and humans were migrating into colder, darker environments. That missed. That is when everything shifted. That is when we stole the sun. The mastery of fire changed the entire hierarchy of the animal kingdom. Fire creates a boundary that is completely psychological, but absolutely impenetrable to most wild animals. Predators evolved to use darkness to their advantage. A blazing circle of light is an anomaly. It blinds them. It confuses them. Sitting next to a fire, early humans were no longer just surviving the night. They were claiming it, but the fire did something else. Something much more dangerous to the old order of the world. It gave humans free time. Before fire, when the sun went down, you just sat there in silence. You tried to stay warm. You tried not to make a sound. You basically turned off. With fire, the night suddenly had hours of usable time. You could not hunt in the dark. You could not gather berries. So what did you do? You looked at the people across the flames, and you started to talk. Daytime conversations are entirely logistical. Who is hunting where? Where is the water? How do we fix this spear? But nighttime conversations around the fire are almost entirely different. They are stories. 80% of campfire talk is storytelling. This is when humans invented mythology, morality, and complex social bonding. The night stopped being a time of terror and became the foundation of human civilization. Let's talk about the exception. Because the system was not perfect. Fire kept most predators away. Sentinels kept watch. But what happens when the fire dies down? What happens when it rains? When a storm rolled over the prehistoric savanna, it extinguished the flames and drowned out the sound approaching footsteps. This was the moment of absolute vulnerability. The darkness became absolute, and the predators knew it. Studies of lion attacks in Tanzania reveal a terrifying pattern. Most man-eating events occur in the exact window of time, just after a heavy rainstorm on a moonless night. The predators have adapted to our adaptations. They learn to wait for our technological advantages to fail. When the fire goes out, the ancient truce is broken. You are instantly pushed back down the food chain. And it is in these moments of pitch-black silence that early humans realize something profound. The night is not just an absence of light. It is an active, hostile environment. And worse than the lions or the hyenas were the other humans. As tribes grew larger and territories began to overlap, the night became the perfect cover for a raid. Animals might attack out of hunger, but other humans attack with strategy. They know exactly how to bypass your watchmen. They know exactly how to use the shadows. This constant, low-level threat of nighttime ambush fundamentally altered human psychology. It is why our brains are hardwired to see faces in the shadows. Pareidolia is the psychological phenomenon where you see a face in the static or a figure in the coat hanging on your door. You are not crazy. Your brain is running a highly advanced, prehistoric threat detection software. It is deliberately hyperactive. Evolution decided that it is much better to mistake a bush for an enemy 1,000 times than to mistake an enemy for a bush exactly once. Your modern anxiety in the dark is an evolutionary gift. It is the ghost of your ancestors tapping you on the shoulder, reminding you to stay alert. But what about when you slept? Did you sleep 8 hours? No. The 8-hour block is an invention created by artificial lighting. For all of human history, sleep was divided. First sleep and second sleep. You would wake up around midnight. You would talk, pray, or tend the fire. Then sleep again. The fear of the night built the human race. You survived the heavy darkness by becoming something worse than the monsters inside it. You refused to close your eyes.